Ladies and gentlemen, we've all been there. A man says something that sounds good on the surface, but deep down something doesn't sit right. You hear his words, but they feel like smoke without fire. You replay the conversation, wondering what he meant, not just what he said. And that confusion doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Because when it comes to love, connection, and vulnerability, most of us aren't just listening for words, we're listening for meaning. And too often, what men say and what they mean are not always the same. So today, let's break the illusion. Let's talk about the three biggest disconnects between what men say and what they actually mean, and how you can respond with clarity, strength, and self-respect. When a man says, "I'm not ready for a relationship right now," it sounds simple, like a moment of honesty. It feels like the kind of sentence you should respect, nod your head to, and walk away from with grace. But often that sentence doesn't land gently. It cuts. It confuses. It leaves you suspended in a strange kind of limbo where you're still emotionally connected, still deeply invested, still hoping, but without direction, without clarity, and without any real promise. Because what he said might seem like a boundary, but how he says it and what he does afterward can sometimes tell a very different story. You may have heard it after weeks of deep conversations, after sharing vulnerable pieces of your soul, after building chemistry and laughter and comfort. You start to feel like you're moving in the right direction, like something real might be blooming between you. And then suddenly he pulls back. He doesn't ghost, not exactly, but his messages become shorter. His energy becomes inconsistent. And when you finally ask him where things are going, that sentence drops. "I'm not ready for a relationship right now." It sounds reasonable, even considerate. But what does it really mean? The truth is, that sentence is often less about timing and more about alignment. When a man says he's not ready, he might genuinely believe it. He might be going through a difficult chapter in his life. Maybe he's overwhelmed with work, emotionally drained from a past heartbreak, or struggling with his identity and future. All of that might be true. But the deeper truth is that when a man wants a relationship with you, when he truly sees you as someone he doesn't want to lose, his readiness rises to meet the moment. He finds a way. He doesn't let fear or chaos stop him from showing up. Because love doesn't require perfect timing, it requires courage. So when he says he's not ready, what you're often hearing is, "I don't want a relationship badly enough to change my current lifestyle." Or worse, "I want your affection, your attention, your warmth, but I don't want to be responsible for your heart." That's the line that many women don't hear, but feel, and it's in that unspoken part of the sentence where all the pain lies. Because what happens next? You start wondering if maybe he just needs time. Maybe if you're patient, if you stay gentle, if you continue to be understanding, he'll eventually shift. You begin making excuses for him. You overcompensate by giving more of yourself. You shrink your own desires just to keep the connection alive. You find yourself hanging on to hope while he lives without obligation. And without realizing it, you've signed up for an emotional waiting room. No answers, no timeline, just the quiet ache of almost love. But here's the raw truth. Someone who wants to love you doesn't need convincing. They don't need to be talked into it. They won't sit on the fence while you prove yourself. Love is a choice, not just a feeling. And someone who is truly and not ready won't keep collecting the benefits of your presence while avoiding the responsibilities that come with loving you. They will release you with integrity. They won't confuse you. Don't bargain. Just leave with your head high and your heart intact. Because the truth is, when someone says they're not ready for a relationship, what they're really saying is, "I'm not willing to give you what you deserve." And that's not your fault. That's not your burden to fix. That's your sign to leave. You don't have to hate him. You don't have to resent him. But you do have to choose yourself again and again and again and again. Because your life is too beautiful, your heart too deep, and your love too sacred to spend on someone who is still deciding whether you're worth choosing. Love doesn't make you guess. Love doesn't make you wait indefinitely. Love doesn't leave you in limbo. Real love is ready, not perfect, but present, not always easy, but committed. And yet, yes, you are worth that kind of love every time, without question, without delay, without apology. When a man says, "Let's just go with the flow," it sounds effortless, light, nonchalant. Like he's suggesting something peaceful, something organic, something that will blossom without the pressure of labels or timelines. And at first, it feels refreshing, especially if you've come from something chaotic, something full of control, drama, or unrealistic expectations. Let's just go with the flow feels like freedom. It feels like a deep breath after trying too hard. It feels like someone finally wants to experience you without boxing you in. But then, as the days pass and the weeks blur into months, you realize something else. That flow he spoke of, so easy and unburdened in the beginning, now feels more like a drift into nowhere, a river without a direction. A tide that carries you not toward each other, but toward a gentle emotional numbness where nothing is really clear. At first, you go along with it. You tell yourself you're fine not knowing where this is going. You convince yourself that it's mature, not to pressure, not to ask for more. You call it modern. You call it chill. You tell your friends, we're just taking it slow. No labels, we're seeing where it goes. You think that if you're relaxed enough, easy enough, agreeable enough, he'll see your value, and when he's ready, he'll move this forward. But days turn into rituals. The phone calls, the late-night texts, the spontaneous hangouts that feel like dates but aren't officially called that. He kisses you with passion, touches you with intimacy, shares things that feel raw and private. You land, you think, surely this is something real, and still no definition, no conversation about exclusivity, no mention of future, and each time you try to bring it up, he shifts. He says things like, I just want to enjoy what we have. Why ruin it by putting pressure on it? He makes you feel like you're breaking something fragile just by asking what it is. So you stay quiet, you play cool, you nod, smile, and say, yeah, I totally get it. But inside, a part of you aches. Because while he gets to live inside emotional ambiguity, you're the one feeling the weight of unspoken expectations. You're the one catching feelings in a space that doesn't allow you to call them love. You're the one getting attached in a dynamic that doesn't promise anything. You're the one overthinking every word, every delay in his reply, every shift in tone, because nothing is certain, and yet everything feels important. He tells you, let's just go with the flow, but you start to notice that the current only moves when it suits him. When he's lonely, he reaches out. When he's overwhelmed, he retreats. When he needs comfort, you're his emotional harbor. But when you need clarity, stability, or direction, suddenly you're asking for too much. Suddenly, the flow becomes fragile. Suddenly, your desire to define things feels like pressure to him. And you start to wonder, how did I get here? How did I go from being a woman who knows her worth to someone afraid to speak her needs? How did I become someone tiptoeing around someone else's emotional comfort while silently suffocating in my own unmet desires? You start to question if it's your fault. Maybe you were too eager. Maybe you misunderstood. Maybe if you just wait a little longer, if you give him more space, if you continue being patient, he'll come around. And so you stay in limbo, not because you don't know better, but because you believe in what this could become. You stay loyal to the potential, not the reality. You stay anchored to the what if, even as the what is, leaves you emotionally unfulfilled. But here's the truth most people won't say out loud. Let's just go with the flow often means you want the benefits of closeness without the responsibilities of commitment. It means I enjoy your presence, but I'm not willing to risk my comfort to deepen this connection. It means I don't want to hurt you, but I also don't want to choose you. And that is the most dangerous kind of ambiguity, because it keeps you hoping while it keeps you stuck. Love is not supposed to be a guessing game. Real connection doesn't hide behind vague language. A man who truly wants to build something with you won't need to be cornered into clarity. He will offer it freely. He will make you feel safe, seen, and chosen, not confused, anxious, and disposable. Oh, you deserve more than a maybe, more than a let's see, more than a relationship that lives in the grey area of emotional convenience. You deserve to wake up every day knowing where you stand in someone's life. You deserve to feel grounded in someone's certainty, not lost in their indecision. Or let's just go with the flow can be a beautiful phrase when both people genuinely want to explore without pressure, and when both are emotionally transparent about their intentions. But when it becomes a tool for emotional avoidance, when it's used to keep you at arm's length while still enjoying the warmth of your presence, it's no longer a flow. It's a trap, A soft trap that feels like freedom at first, but slowly binds you to silence, self-doubt, and shrinking standards. And so the question isn't whether you can go with the flow. The question is, where is that flow taking you? If it's not leading to deeper trust, mutual care, shared goals, and emotional safety, then maybe it's not a flow at all. Maybe it's a holding pattern disguised as connection. Maybe it's his way of keeping you close while staying non-committal. Maybe it's the emotional equivalent of treading water, constant effort with no forward motion. You are not too much for wanting clarity. You are not needy for wanting direction. 4. You are not demanding for wanting to know if this is real. These are not flaws. They are signs of someone who values her time, her heart, her future. You have every right to ask, where is this going? And if the answer is more evasion, more softness, more poetic sounding ambiguity, then you have every right to walk away. You were not created to be a temporary fix. You are not meant to be someone's emotional in-between. You are not here to soothe someone's loneliness without receiving the depth of love you desire. You are here for real connection, honest words, grounded presence, someone who meets you where you are, not someone who keeps you guessing from a distance. It takes strength to leave something that feels good but doesn't serve your soul. It takes courage to choose clarity over chemistry. It takes self-respect to say, I love how I feel with you, but I love myself too much to stay in something that never chooses me fully. So if you're hearing a let's just go with the flow and your heart feels unsettled, listen to that feeling. Trust that discomfort, because your heart always knows when something isn't aligned. And it's better to walk away from someone who won't define the relationship than to lose yourself inside one that never had a clear path. You deserve love that moves with intention. Love that flows, but with direction. Love that builds, not just wanders. You deserve someone who doesn't just want to experience you, but someone who's willing to hold space for you, grow with you, commit to you. Not one day, not maybe, but now, completely, willingly, without hesitation. That kind of love doesn't ask you to go with the flow. It meets you in the river and rows with you, together, towards something real, towards something whole, towards something that doesn't feel like a question mark, but a peaceful, certain yes. You're amazing, but might be one of the most beautiful lies ever spoken. It sounds like a compliment at first, a soft cushion before a fall. Like someone handing you a rose only to quietly pull it back before you've fully grasped it. That sentence, those 4 words, can sting more than outright rejection, because it confuses the heart. It whispers that you were good, but not good enough. That you were everything someone wanted, except for one invisible thing you'll never be able to name or change. And maybe that's what hurts the most. That no matter how much you loved, how much you gave, how much you showed up, how much you tried to understand, to compromise, to hold space, to be patient, it still ended with a but. He looks you in the eye and tells you you're kind, magnetic, rare. He says things most people dream of hearing. That you light up a room, that you're strong, compassionate, beautiful, inside and out, that being around you feels like peace, that you make him laugh when he doesn't feel like smiling, that you're the kind of person anyone would be lucky to have. And then comes the shift. But, and the moment that word lands, your heart falls, because it erases everything that came before. It tells you that no matter how radiant you are, no matter how deeply you made him feel, he still won't choose you, he still can't stay. He still won't meet you where you are. And you're left wondering what exactly went wrong when everything felt so right. You replay every moment, every conversation, every touch. You go over your words, your actions, wondering if you were too open, too vulnerable, too intense, or maybe too calm, too available, too understanding. You try to find the crack in your reflection that made him turn away. But here's the brutal, liberating truth. You're amazing, but often has nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with his capacity, his readiness, his fears, his limitations. It's a reflection of where he is, not a reflection of what you lack. Sometimes people meet you and see your light, but instead of rising to meet it, they retreat. Because your presence demands honesty, your depth requires them to show up fully. And if someone is still hiding from love, from pain, from themselves, they won't be able to hold what you offer. Not because it's not beautiful, but because it's too real, too honest, too healing. And healing to someone not ready for it can feel like threat instead of comfort. So they offer you a phrase that lets them bow out gracefully without looking like the villain. They can't say, I'm scared. They can't say, I don't know how to love someone who's already whole. They won't say, I don't have the emotional maturity to match your clarity. So they say, you're amazing, but, and in those few words, they protect themselves from guilt while leaving you with all the unanswered questions. And I know it's tempting to believe that if only you were a little different, if you had played harder to get, if you had held back your affection, if you had made him chase more or need you more, or feel like he was in control, then maybe he would have stayed. But that thinking is a trap. Because when someone is meant to show up for you, you won't have to shrink yourself to fit into their comfort zone. You won't have to dim your light just to make sure they aren't blinded by your brilliance. You're amazing, but isn't the end of your story. It's a turning point. A signal, a message written in heartbreak. It's the universe's way of protecting you from someone who couldn't love you the way you deserve to be loved. Because someone who truly sees your value won't use it as an exit line. They won't use your goodness to justify their inability to commit. They won't admire your soul only to walk away from it. And I know it's hard not to take it personally. Rejection always feels personal, especially when it's wrapped in praise. Because now your heart is caught between gratitude and grief. And one part of you wants to say thank you for being seen, for being appreciated, for being acknowledged. The other part wants to scream for being left, for being abandoned in the middle of a love that had so much potential. But don't confuse being admired with being chosen. Don't settle for almost love just because it came with kind words. Don't let someone's inability to commit distort your belief in your own worth. You can be amazing and they can still not be ready. You can be extraordinary and they can still walk away. That doesn't diminish who you are. It only exposes who they're not ready to be. Let them go. Let them leave with their flattering words and their unsure hearts. Let them walk away with their compliments and confusion. Because the truth is, if someone can say you're amazing, but they never really saw you, they saw the version of you that made them feel good. They saw the ease, the safety, the comfort, but they didn't see the full spectrum of your heart. They didn't sit with your shadows, hold your fears, or match your emotional courage. They visited the surface of your soul, but they never swam in the deep end. And you deserve someone who swims. You deserve someone who doesn't hesitate when they recognize your magic. Someone who doesn't give you love with one hand and take it back with the other. Someone who doesn't use your brilliance as a reason to flee, but as a reason to stay. Someone who doesn't say, but, after all, amazing, but instead says, you're amazing, and I'm all in. That's the love that heals. What? That's the love that builds. That's the love that's real. So cry if you need to. Feel the loss. Grieve the almost. It's okay to hurt. It's okay to wonder. But don't stay there. Don't stay stuck in a sentence that someone used as a gentle exit. Don't let someone's indecision become your insecurity. Don't carry their confusion like it belongs to you. Walk forward. Hold your head high. Not because you didn't care, but because you did. Not because you're unaffected, but because you're resilient. You showed up with your whole heart. You loved without playing games. You are real in a world that tells people to be casual, and that is your power, that is your beauty, that is your strength. There will be someone who doesn't say but, someone who says, I see your light and I want to stand beside it, not run from it. Someone who won't be intimidated by your truth, but inspired by it. Someone who won't ask you to be less just so they can feel more. Until then, let you're amazing, but teach you not to settle for less than full-hearted love. Let it teach you to trust your gut when something feels off. Let it teach you that people can praise you and still not be for you. Let it teach you that your value does not decrease just because someone couldn't hold it. Because you are amazing, period. No but, no conditions, no exceptions. You are enough. You are worthy. You are not hard to love. You just need the kind of love that doesn't flinch when it finds something real. So keep shining, keep believing. Keep your standards high and your heart open. The right person won't just tell you you're amazing. They'll show you. They'll stay. They'll choose you. And they'll never make you feel like you had to earn it. Not through perfection, but just by being you, completely, unapologetically. That is the love you're waiting for, and it's worth it.